Cyberpunk Reader.
Good evening. This is the Cyberpunk Reader with an update on our slow progress towards dystopia. Check this out. Looks like Disney found substantial portions of Twitter users fake in 2016, says the former CEO. In other words, a lot of Twitter users are bots. They are artificial intelligences, little programs that are cooked up to reply in a certain way, to share information when given a prompt, like a certain word, like someone says George Washington, and they'll tweet the article about George Washington, or other bots are there just to respond with pat answers to a particular argument or a keyword, a trigger word. They're triggered. Bots are triggered. They have input outputs, but so do humans. So former Disney CEO Bob Iger said on Wednesday the entertainment giant had determined that a substantial portion of Twitter's users were not real in 2016, when Disney was weighing a purchase of the social network. Iger said that Walt Disney Company and Twitter boards were prepared to enter negotiations when he got cold feet. He said that with Twitter's help, Disney had learned that a substantial portion, not a majority, of users were fake. How much is a substantial? 20%, 30, 40, 50, 80? I remember discounting the value as a result, Iger said in remarks at the Code Conference in Beverly Hills, California. Iger did not specify what he meant by substantial, of course. Twitter has consistently reported that fewer than 5% of its monetizable daily users are bot or spam accounts. Iger's comments come amid a legal battle between billionaire entrepreneur Elon Musk and Twitter over Musk's deal to buy the social media company for $44 billion. Musk, who is trying to walk away from the deal, has claimed that Twitter has misrepresented the prevalence of spam or bot accounts on the platform. Now, this is like our future, right? We program AI to do work for us when we're not there. We program them to be followers, to give us likes, to attack our enemies. They're like a little our attack dogs, are a slave army that we can use to multiply our work, basically, our productivity. But can you imagine a future where like everyone on Twitter is a bot? What would that look like? Where it's like, I want to work to get clout, but I don't have time to be on Twitter. I got to be on other platforms or do something else. So I just have a bot run my account, and pretty soon everyone has a bot running their account, and the bots are just talking to each other. That'd be funny. Iger did not mention Musk by name in his remarks on Wednesday, but he did say interestingly enough, because I read the news these days, we did look very carefully at all the Twitter users before going on to say that a substantial portion, there goes that word again, of Twitter users were not real. In his memoir, The Ride of a Lifetime, Iger wrote that he had second thoughts about a deal with Twitter because of the nastiness of the discourse on Twitter that he feared would become a distraction. All right. Well, nastiness brings attention, which brings nastiness brings attention, which brings ads. So he's not really. This is his own version of virtual signaling. Twitter has sued Musk to hold him to the deal, and the trial is to begin on October 17th. Twitter did not immediately respond to a request for comment on Wednesday. So yeah, this is fun stuff. The revenge of the bots, are the emergence of the bots. AI is getting bolder and bolder. Let's see what else is out there. Oh, this is from yesterday. United makes conditional order for electric air taxis. Oh, okay. United Airlines thinks. Now, one of the promises of Cyberpunk world is flying cars. You see those in Blade Runner, Fifth Element. It's a common feature, but the actual feasibility of it has always been debated. You don't have the same physical barriers to keep you in line. Like, how does it, what happens when a crash, is a fall, does it that multiply the death rate because people on the ground get killed? There's all kinds of things. But let's see. United Airlines thinks that in a few years, plenty of big city customers will pay $100 or more for a one-way ride to the airport in a 4-seat electric-powered air taxi. The Chicago-based airline said Thursday that it invested $15 million in a startup manufacturer and signed a conditional agreement to buy 200 of the tiny aircraft with options for 200 more. United said experts to receive the first taxis. Do we already have air taxis? Isn't that what helicopters are? Anyway, the rich use that to get around. They fly from rooftop to rooftop, skyscraper top to skyscraper. I've been watching Successor, and that's how they get around. They're on a plane or armored SUV. They're in the air in a helicopter. So I wonder what the advantage of this over a helicopter is. It's faster, I assume, which will take off and land vertically like helicopters from Eve Air Mobility. So their advantage is that they have to be faster because they take off like helicopters. So they can land anywhere and pick you up anywhere, pick you up in front of your house, off the roof of your condo. It's hard to judge United's commitment to the deal since it wouldn't provide terms for the order. A spokesman said the conditions are standard when buying an aircraft that hadn't been certified by regulators, and they cover a number of United's business objectives. The stake in Eve amounts to less than 5% of United's second quarter profit, but the deal fits United's pattern of announcing interest in startups that are trying to build and win regulatory approval for air taxis like Archer and supersonic planes like Boom. I love these one-word Archer. You get slung out. Boom. Yes, it's these onomatopoeias. It's like, yes, it's the words just tells you what exactly we do. Mike Liskinen, president of United's venture funding arm, said that the EVTOLs, electric vertical takeoff and landing aircraft, will be ideally suited for traffic-clogged cities where United flies. Yeah, let's not fix the traffic. Let's forget about the traffic. This is the future. The isolated rich, they just find ways to avoid everybody. They jump over everything. They don't bother to deal with it. They have the power. There's no responsibility. This is cyberpunk dystopia, where United flies, including New York, Chicago, and San Francisco. He said air taxis will be faster than driving to the airport and produce fewer emissions. Oh, that's the virtual signaling. We save on CO2. And trips will cost $100 to $100 each way. $100 to $150 each way, which is actually kind of lower than I thought. It would take time for consumers to adopt this. People are going to have some hesitancy at first, Liskinen said. It would feel a lot similar to a helicopter ride. It might be scary for some, but this is going to change the way we work and live. The Eve aircraft is envisioned to have a range of 40 to 60 miles. Future designs might be slightly bigger than the currently planned 4-seater, but they would not replace any planes that United flies from one airport to another. I just can't wait to see these in the sky, though. Just zipping and zooming from the suburbs to the airport. That's because, or downtown to the airport, just zipping and zooming. Crash on the highway. Woo! That's the network effect. Collateral damage. So they won't reduce carbon emissions produced by the airline's regular fleet. Eve Holding is a public traded company formed this year by a combination of a special purpose acquisition company called Zanite and a unit of Brazilian aircraft manufacturer Embraer. It is based in Melbourne, Florida, another conglomerate taken from many different companies across many different nations, located in a place that's not even related to the others. All right, that's interesting stuff. From defending the open internet to confronting the reality of a fragmented cyberspace, reflected upon 2 CFR reports on U.S. goals in cyberspace. All right, this actually sounds boring. Let's keep going. Let's see. PC Gamer has an article. NFT expert imagines a hopeful future where poor people serve as real-life NPCs in games. You get a job as an NPC. If you thought gold farming was bad, wait until you see this vision of the future. Oh, I can't wait. These are the new jobs, by the way. You will be, so this is, remember the Twitter, I said the Twitter, people will get bots to run their platforms. But these actually bots, in another twist, will actually be real people hired to operate the bots, or act like bots. Efforts to integrate NFTs into video games have been largely unsuccessful for a few reasons, but essentially it can be boiled down to two primary points. Actually, that's a story prompt. Bots end up becoming like 20% of all discourse on like a social platform, and people use them, hire bots to do certain tasks, but it turns out really behind the bots are actually real people. They don't add anything of value, and actually the people running the Twitter accounts that are presumed to be real are actually advanced AI. There you go. They don't add anything of value, and there's NFTs don't add anything of value. There's a non-zero chance that the digital stuff you own will be stolen from you, aka rug pull. And that's without even considering the environmental damage caused by NFTs. Okay, I'm not gonna get into the greening of the bits. I'm not gonna get into the environmental impact of crypto, blockchain. There's a lot of debate about that. The bulk of the story by the nonprofit journalism organization is about a Minecraft-based NFT game called Critters, which enjoyed enough success in its early days that some players began hiring others to help build their in-game ownings in exchange for a cut of the profits. One such high roller, who goes by the name Big Chief, had his team, made up mainly of kids in the Philippines, collect building materials for a casino, which he then paid professional Microsoft builders $10,000 to actually create. Wow, so the kids were collecting materials like cheap labor, farm labor. Well, at least they get to do it, from the comfort of their laptop or desktop computer, wherever internet cafe, wherever they do this from, probably internet cafe. It's better than actually doing backbreaking, physical labor. I have a lot of kids that play for me, and they play because they want to make extra money in a country that's really just locking them down. Yeah, this is the explanation. They don't have nothing else to do. Maybe go to school. People in the Philippines were willing to play the game this way. He had it because they were able to earn just enough where it was worth their while. It wasn't just play though. Big Chief said members of his play to earn guild were required to put in 8 hours a day, the equivalent of a full-time job, in order to, so they can't go to school unless they're going to night school for kids. In order to recover the cost of NFT purchases, the digital plots of land, in order to recover the cost of NFT purchases, which include the digital plots of land, and maximize revenues as quickly as possible, he has to use cheap child labor. Still, he said, was annoyed by the suggestion that his exploitation of disadvantaged people in poor countries was, exploitation. I couldn't tell you what the hourly rate comes to, but I can tell you that people make very little money and the cost of living is very low in the Philippines. Yes, and this is, those in the West can take advantage of that discrepancy by, hiring cheap labor to do your various projects. I've seen that. I've had people work on dissertations where they're building an app and they hire people from India for cheap. Imagine a grad student being able to afford somebody to write their app for them. That's how cheap they came. But as Critters grew in popularity, its value began to drop. Big Chief said players were selling their block tokens used in the game rather than holding them because they need money to live. Oh, to think. Which combined with the increased number of players created a token glut that drove prices down. Following the trajectory of most cryptocurrency in 2022, blocks sunk from a high of 85 cents in January to just 3 cents in May. The wheels didn't really come off though until July, when Mojang declared that NFT integration into Minecraft is not something we will support or allow. That cut the value of block, already dramatically diminished, in half. Earnings dropped, player counts fell off, and at this point the future of Critters is uncertain at best. And that's the thing about these NFT type games, is that the way they're very structured leads to like a death cycle, or what they call a death spiral. Cryptocurrency price fluctuates. It's based around Bitcoin. At a time when the Bitcoin is high, people want to sell their crypto, so they end up selling junk coins like block, and those prices go down. But then when the price of Bitcoin goes back down, they will buy it, but the value of that block will go down, of the shit coins, and so people will sell those off. It's like a never-ending, back and forth. In these where you have to work, they rely on you have to have enough people to participate, to sell to buy from. But like I said, if the prices get too high, people want to sell. That causes the price of that to drop. People leave the platform. Then other people, if the price gets low, they join in. So you might say it's like a back and forth. But it really depends a lot on what the overall market is doing. Right, and when you're doing work that creates the tokens, it creates more and more tokens, right? So you might be doing something that creates the tokens and gives you more tokens, but the more tokens that are made, the cheaper they become. The market cap goes down. Well, yeah. Big Chief understandably bemoaned his loss. That is, the loss of his ability to do so much good for others. I treated a lot of these kids like they're my kids that he probably never met. So it's kind of sad now that I can't really offer them much, Big Chief said. Before, I was really helping a lot of these kids, giving them an opportunity to make some extra cash for their families. It just kind of sucks that I can't really do that right now. Yeah, it sucks that you can't make a lot of money. Luckily for him at least, people are coming up with fresh ideas for how citizens of the third world can be put to productive use by wealthy Westerners. Makai Kosser, a blockchain gaming consultant, Wolves DAO, for instance, suggested that they could be added to the background of video games for the amusement of other presumably wealthier players. This is what I'm talking about. They're not going to be real. They're not going to actually be NPCs. They're going to be actually real people. With the cheap labor of a developing country, you could use people in the Philippines as NPCs, real-life NPCs in your game, Kosser said, apparently seriously. They would just populate the world, maybe do a random job or just walk back and forth, fishing, telling stories, a shopkeeper. Anything is really possible. It's an odious idea, but brilliant at the same time. Because isn't one thing gamers complain about? It's how just NPCs just don't seem like they're real. They do like 1 or 2, 3, 4, 5 things kind of good, and they just kind of keep doing that, which is like kind of how real people are in a way. We eat, sleep, get up, go to work, play games, whatever, talk. Anyway, it's just funny though, because we do complain about that. So you have real people, but these real people, if they don't, real people are actually unpredictable, and it may make the game more interesting, like playing with other people, but it may also destroy the immersion, because one thing the NPCs do is they help create immersion, because what they do is completely confined to what their role is in the game. If you have a shopkeeper, he's going to act like a shopkeeper. He's going to sell you things, make jokes, get mad if you steal, blah, blah, blah. He's not going to go and just randomly, start plowing a field or plowing his wife in front of you. It's like they have set tasks, a program they do, and that helps create the immersion, kind of ironically. So it's an odious idea, perfectly in character for the NFT field, and literally the dictionary definition of exploitation. Selfish utilization, especially for profit. As much as I hate to admit it, it's also not at all outside the realm of possibility. Paying people to do the heavy lifting in your video game of choice is nothing new. Most of us are at least passively familiar with the practice of gold farming in MMOs. Yeah, EverQuest, that was a big one. But the introduction of real money into these systems only encourages bad behavior. It's dystopian, but also foundational. As long as real money is involved, there will always be people willing to pursue it, and there will always be others eager to take advantage of them. So this is the future for cheap. This is the future for a lot of us who don't have the skills or the privilege to, be in the top 1%. we will be cosplayers for the rich in their playland. You saw Westworld? Yeah, in the future, they won't be using real robots. They won't be using actual robots. They'll be using actual people who will be acting like robots, because people don't actually want to believe those are real people they're shooting and abusing and whatnot. So you're going to have real people acting like robots for the entertainment and joy of rich people. That's our future. And I want to thank you. I'm going to end it there for this today. And till next time, this is the Cyberpunk Reader. Thank you. Thank you for watching the Cyberpunk Reader. Until next time, and if you enjoyed the content or found it useful or helpful in any way, please like and subscribe. And click the bell if you want to notice next time I upload a video.